Display All Selection Arrows button in the wireframe chaining and solid chaining dialog boxes have replaced the Unselect All button. The new function is available only when you have created multiple chains. Clicking this function displays all chain selection arrows. Full loops display only one chain direction arrow. Partial loops display both the start and end arrows. When selection arrows display, you can edit chains without leaving the chaining dialog box. Select the start or end arrow in the graphics window to activate a particular chain. Click an active chain to enable the start-end controls in the wireframe chaining and solid chaining dialog boxes. After creating multiple chains, select Display All Selection Arrows to display all chain selection arrows. Then select Reverse to switch the direction of all active chains. Select a chain in the graphics window and select Reverse to switch the direction of the one chain you selected, or select Dynamic to position the start or end of the chain at the location you choose in the graphics window. Use the Branches button to guide the path of a chain that you select. Use Display All Selection Arrows in conjunction with Unselect to clear the selection of all active chains. Select one of the active chains and then unselect to clear the selection of only that chain. This is helpful when you use window selection or another selection method to create multiple chains and need to remove one or more of them from the selection. The last used settings for wireframe chaining and solid chaining dialog boxes now persist across Mastercam sessions. You no longer set the default chaining modes in the System Configuration dialog box. The default chaining mode parameters have been removed from the chaining page. For more information on enhancements to Mastercam 2021, be sure to visit whatsnew.mastercam.com. When creating a bounding box in Mastercam 2021, the new Wrap option allows you to create the smallest bounding box possible. Select Wrap on the Basic tab in the Function panel. Wrap aligns the bounding box along the largest, flattest face of the selected geometry. Then, choose how Mastercam generates the shape of the bounding box from the following methods. Silhouette Boundary creates a boundary curve around the selected entities and then extrudes the bounding box as a solid or a mesh. Minimum Volume virtually drapes a mesh over the selected solid to create the bounding box. This results in a bounding box with minimal volume. You can then set an additional offset and offset tolerance. The additional offset parameter allows you to specify a 3D offset value to add dimension to the bounding box. The offset tolerance value adjusts the accuracy of the offset bounding box. Additionally, the Auto option under the Orientation group now always provides the smallest possible result for the selected shape. Auto also now supports all Mastercam entity types instead of only solids. You can now display the C-plane of a toolpath in the Toolpaths Manager. This is controlled by the new Comp Construction Plane option in the Display Options dialog box, which can be accessed by right-clicking in the Toolpaths Manager and selecting Display Options. The option is deselected by default. The number of allowed tool pockets for an automatic tool changer component has been increased from 32,000 to over 2 billion. Since Mastercam uses this value to clamp the allowed tool numbers when programming your part, the new limit lets Mastercam machine definitions accommodate modern tool number formats, such as group numbers that require 8 integer digits. You can now enable and disable the selection of plane gnomons using the Enable Gnomon selection option in the Plane Gnomon dialog box or the Plane Gnomon page in the System Configuration dialog box. This option is selected by default. When deselected, plane gnomons will not highlight when you hover over them and cannot be selected. Disabling the selection of plane gnomons is helpful when you need to select geometry that is behind the gnomon. You can temporarily disable this option by holding down the G key. There are two new enhancements to stock model creation. There is now a default name for stock model operations, so you do not have to enter a name manually. The default name is 1. Any subsequent stock model operations are incremented from that value. Additionally, the 5-axis tip-only checkbox has been renamed Mill Flutes Only. When selected, Mill Flutes Only uses just the fluted portion of the tool to compute against the stock model. In Mastercam 2021, you can right-click a large prompt window and choose Auto Hide to minimize the prompt to a single line. This helps when a large prompt window obscures areas of the graphics window. A small down arrow indicates that the prompt is minimized. Hover over the prompt to briefly expand it to full size, or right-click and deselect Auto Hide to show the full prompt. To improve performance, you now have the option to ignore hidden entities in CATIA V5, Pro E Creo, and Unigraphics NX files when importing these files into Mastercam. You can now independently control the color and/or level of transformed entities. For more information on enhancements to Mastercam 2021, be sure to visit whatsnew.mastercam.com. Mastercam Simulator now properly displays the selected Rapid Motion option located on the Linear Lathe page in the Control Definition dialog box when simulating a lathe machine. During simulation, the Move list now properly identifies multi-axis toolpaths. If Initial View is set to Optimized in the Simulation Options dialog box when simulating a mill turn toolpath, it now displays correctly in Mastercam Simulator. In the Simulator Options dialog box, you can now select meshes in addition to solids and surfaces to use as fixtures or stock. Additionally, the new Restore Settings button resets settings in the tab to their default values. For more information on enhancements to Mastercam 2021, be sure to visit whatsnew.mastercam.com. Mastercam 2021 now includes an option for you to save all the currently visible entities and toolpaths in your part as a 3D PDF. A 3D PDF is a dynamic PDF file that displays an embedded 3D model. Anyone with a 3D PDF-enabled viewer, such as Adobe Acrobat Reader, can view and interact with the part in this format. Mastercam preserves important part data such as planes, entities, levels, dimensions, and toolpath operations. When viewing the 3D PDF, you can control the display of this data by selecting or deselecting items in the PDF viewer's Model Tree panel. In addition to the standard PDF controls, you can use the mouse or Adobe's 3D toolbar functions to interact with the embedded model. To save a file as a 3D PDF, choose 3D PDF Files from the Save As Type drop-down menu. Select Options to open the 3D PDF Parameters dialog box. Select Open PDF File after saving to open the PDF after saving the file. You can also set this option as the default on the Converters page of the System Configuration dialog box. For more information on enhancements to Mastercam 2021, be sure to visit whatsnew.mastercam.com. When selecting chains in translucent mode, Mastercam displays a loop associated with the face even if the face is on the back side of the part. The new C-plane mode has replaced the face mode in the solid chaining dialog box. The functionality varies depending on the chaining method you use with the C-plane mode selected. When you select C-plane and use the edges method of chaining, only edges parallel to the active C-plane are chainable. When you select C-plane and use the loop method of chaining, only loops parallel to the C-plane are chainable. When you select C-plane and use the face method of chaining, only faces parallel to the active C-plane are chainable. When enhanced selection like double-click or triple-click is used, then all faces at the same Z depth as the selected face are chained. The dynamic start point option that is available for wireframe chaining is now available for solid chaining. Dynamic start point allows you to specify a new start point of a chain without first creating wireframe geometry. Dynamic start point maintains associativity with the solid. The solid chaining modes Open Edges and Shared Edges were added to Mastercam 2020. In Mastercam 2021, these modes have been enhanced and renamed to Outer Open Edges and Outer Shared Edges. When in Outer Open Edges mode, select a solid face to chain the open edges of the face in a clockwise direction. When in Outer Shared Edges mode, select a solid face to chain the outer shared edges of the face in a counterclockwise direction. Additional selection methods are now available when using loop mode. Shift-click to select tangent faces. Alt-click to vector select. Control-click to select matching fillets and holes. Window-select to select multiple faces. Control-Shift-click to select similar faces. Double-click to select a feature. Control-Shift-double-click to select similar features. Triple-click to select the solid body. The solid chaining workflow has been enhanced when using the loop or partial loop methods. Mastercam no longer presents the Pick a Reference Face dialog that allows you to cycle through the possible reference faces to choose the correct face to chain. In Mastercam 2021, you hover over the geometry until the correct loop displays. For more information on enhancements to Mastercam 2021, be sure to visit whatsnew.mastercam.com. In previous versions of Mastercam, the Analyze function limited the display of a measurement up to the precision you set in the System Configuration dialog box or in the Analyze dialog box itself. In Mastercam 2021, you can now hover over a value in the Analyze dialog box and see the actual value without having to change the precision. To see a measurement's full value, select the new Display Full Value tooltip option in the Analyze page. When selected, Analyze displays the full value of each number in a tooltip when you hover over the field, even if it's greater than the display precision in that field. The checkbox is selected by default. When deselected, you must change the display precision to see the full value. The functionality of the standalone autosave backup dialog box has been merged with the autosave backup page of the system configuration dialog box. This provides a single location to configure the autosave options. On-screen control settings for gnomon, plane gnomon, arrow, polar arrow, and tangent arrow are now located under the on-screen controls page. You can access these settings by right-clicking on the on-screen control in the graphics window or by clicking File, System Configuration. Some parameter names and controls have been updated to maintain consistency across pages. You can now set the default machine for Mastercam Simulator in simulation mode. You can change the default machine on the simulator page. The option Planes Work Offset Warning has been moved from Mastercam Advanced Configuration to the Toolpaths page and broken out into 3 separate options. Update the plane and all operations that use the plane, create a copy of the plane and update just the changed operation, update just the changed operation without changing the plane. The new Suppress Planes Work Offset Warning option disables the warning message that displays when a work offset value has been changed. The option is off by default. 2 Toolpath Surface Selection options have been renamed to match the options on the Model Geometry page for the 3D high-speed toolpaths. Drive is now named Machining, and Check is now named Avoidance. For more information on enhancements to Mastercam 2021, be sure to visit whatsnew.mastercam.com. In previous versions of Mastercam, the chain direction was not indicated when using the window, polygon, vector, and area selection methods. Mastercam 2021 now indicates the chain direction when using these selection methods. In addition, if multiple wireframe geometry is chained, the reverse option will switch the direction of all active chains. When using C-plane mode, Mastercam now highlights and allows you to select only the entities parallel to the active C-plane. The chaining dialog box that opens when selecting Start Point from the right-click menu of the Chain Manager has been updated. The controls are now consistent with the wireframe chaining dialog box. For more information on enhancements to Mastercam 2021, be sure to visit whatsnew.mastercam.com.